12 Terran warships entered Council space, scorched, silent, soaked in alien blood. No flag. No anthem. Just the stench of vengeance. When humanity stepped off the lead ship with boots still dripping, they didn't come to negotiate. They came to bury an empire. This is the day the galaxy learned, if you test Earth's patience, pray you never see its wrath. 12 Terran warships breached the silence of the Galactic Council's orbital perimeter without transmission, their engines idling, hulls scarred, pitted, and wet with something that shimmered like oil under starlight. The security grid, sensing no weapons drawn, didn't fire. It simply watched, as did every species in the chamber. Inside the Council's Grand Hall, delegates of over 300 races stared at the live feed projected across the obsidian dome. The ships did not match any known configuration filed with the diplomatic registry. Their insignias were primitive, crude, angular carvings into black alloy. No colors. No anthem. No ceremonial escort. Just silence. Their delegation was scheduled to arrive via diplomatic courier. Hissed the Kirill ambassador, his 6 golden eyes twitching. This is a provocation. No, whispered the Urhive spokeshell, its gelatinous form quivering. This is a statement. The chamber fell still as the lead Terran ship docked. A long, low groan echoed as the pressure locks disengaged. From the loading corridor, one man emerged. No guard. No entourage. His gait was calm, unhurried. Every step on the marble floor thudded like a countdown. Dressed in matte black combat leather, he carried no weapon, just a small cube in one gloved hand. A single streak of red, dried and crusted, marked his collar. The chamber recognized him, though his face had long vanished from public record. His name passed only in whispers. Magnus Veilgrim. Vindicator Prime. The Council hadn't summoned a diplomat. They had summoned an omen. The Kirill representative recoiled. This is an illegal presentation. He is not recognized. He was erased. Veilgrim finished, his voice like iron dragged across stone. By your hand? Yet here I stand. Makes you wonder how thorough your erasure process really is. The Council speaker, a neutral AI construct from the Neutrality Core, flickered into form. You are not scheduled. Not sanctioned. You bring no official statement. Are you requesting audience under emergency code? Veilgrim raised the cube. This contains 12 hours of unfiltered footage. Unedited. Verified. Play it. The AI hesitated. Council rules did not accommodate unauthorized data presentation. Then the human spoke again. Play. It. The cube whirred, projecting a sequence of videos across the chamber walls. Children bound in cryorigs. Terran delegates dismembered in real time. The mark of the veil etched into flesh with molten irons. Screams. No sound edits. No music. No commentary. Just evidence. And at the end, a council directive. Authorization seal. Tri-Species Protocol 91B. Clear signature of the Severed Veil Syndicate. The order was clear. Test their breaking point. Ensure fear is instilled early. Subjugation requires trauma. No one spoke. The speaker AI dimmed. Veilgrim let the silence bleed. Then, do you know what your mistake was? The ear trembled. The Kirills sat frozen. The Thalaxes scratched their chinless jaws. You assumed we would scream. That we'd beg. That we'd wail and curse the stars. He took a breath, slow and cold. But humans don't mourn like that. Not anymore. We mourn with silence. And then we prepare. You cannot bring accusations without procedure. Snapped the Kirill. You cannot just. I'm not accusing, Veilgrim said. I'm delivering verdict. He stepped forward, letting the full weight of his presence crush the air around him. Within 6 hours of receiving your message, Earth activated Protocol Black Writ. You're old enough to know what that means. The rest of you are about to learn. A second cube dropped from his coat, clicking open to reveal system logs. Tactical overlays. Invasion paths. Satellite interceptions. Nuclear pulse timelines. Timestamps showed Valk's colonies, moons, and flotillas across 3 star systems. All wiped clean within 20 hours. No survivors. No outgoing signals. Just static and red suns. "We didn't come here to explain," Valgrim said. "We came here to remind you." The speaker AI reactivated, visibly shaken. This is a massacre. It violates Interstellar Code 42. So did child vivisection, Valgrim cut in. But you didn't quote law then. Don't dig up statutes now. The Thalaxi ambassador, often silent, leaned forward. Why not go further? Why not destroy us all? Valgrim turned his eyes toward the upper galleries, where distant species watched with growing dread. Because we needed you to see the blood on our ships. We needed you to see the truth in the silence. We needed every race here to understand something your empires have forgotten. He paused, letting the words form like a blade being drawn. We are not afraid to die. We are not afraid to kill. But more than that, we are not afraid to be alone. You can cast us out. You can call us barbarians. But you will never again test our blood without consequence. The Kirill sneered. You bring terror to the chamber. What do you call this act, human? Valgrim smiled, but it was the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. The kind that comes after loss. I call it diplomacy, he said. Terran style. He walked to the center dais. The cube shut itself off. No music played. No guard stopped him. As he turned to leave, he dropped one final data chip on the floor. It contains the coordinates of the next 3 Council-aligned planets found harboring severed Veil agents, he said. Erase them yourselves. Or wait for us. He paused at the door, casting a glance back, not with rage, but certainty. Next time, he said, we won't knock. Then he left. And the Council, for the first time in memory, said nothing. They had expected screams, maybe a plea, perhaps a desperate broadcast from Earth begging for mercy, clarity, negotiation. Instead, they received nothing. Not even static. Just void. Hours after Valgrim left the council chamber, the truth began to unfold, not from him, but from the systems they thought were secure. Planetary defense networks across the Valk's arm of the Tri-Star sector went dark, one after another. No energy spikes. No enemy fleets detected. Just silence. Systematically, relentlessly, unnervingly precise silence. By the time the first scout ships arrived, it was already over. Valk's prime was gone. Its crust split open, its core exposed and left to bleed into space like an open wound. Atmospheric remnants still burned in orbit. Automated distress beacons continued to fire, each carrying only a single word in Terran Standard. Paid. The Council convened an emergency session. Their first mistake. Within minutes, over 30 data streams from diplomatic satellites across the region reported anomalous signatures, patterns in the debris. Repeating signals. Code. All saying the same thing in increasingly grim variations. This is what restraint looks like. You showed us children screaming. We showed you what comes after. The Valk's representative, half-burned from attempting emergency warp the night before, demanded war. The Kirill seconded it. The rest wavered. The fear was spreading. It wasn't just the destruction. It was the speed. The surgical precision. The complete lack of any claim of responsibility. They were used to war being a conversation, an escalation of diplomacy with casualties. This wasn't war. It was removal. Back on Earth, they called it Project Revenant. Not even the Terran Senate had known the details. Authorized under a clause buried deep in the old Earth Defense Charter, it had been activated by a unanimous vote from 12 surviving veterans of the Siege of Oria's 9. It bypassed political oversight. It bypassed morality. Its only mission: respond without mercy. The Revenant fleet didn't carry identifying marks. Its ships were retrofitted black-budget dreadnoughts, stripped of AI regulators and equipped with war drives banned in 6 galaxies. Its command staff were exiles, convicts, and ghosts. and at the center of it all stood Veilgrim. In the war room on the Revenant flagship Ash-Eater, Veilgrim stood over a burning star map. A dozen enemy systems blinked red, each pulsing slowly, timed to a rhythm only he could hear. "They'll retaliate," said Admiral Mara Threx, her cybernetic eye flickering. "The Kirill are mobilizing." "No, they're panicking," Veilgrim said. "Retaliation would require confidence. They don't even know where we are." "Still," she warned, "the Council will vote." Veilgrim nodded. "Good. Let them vote. And when they finish, we'll send our amendment." Across Council space, hundreds of Terran operatives activated synchronized ghost casts. Information packets flooded alien networks. Evidence. Orders. Memos. War crime cover-ups. The severed Veil's orders to the Veilks were exposed, line by line. Real time. Live feed. And then the second wave began. Not bombs. Not ships. Truth. Entire species learned that their own delegates had sanctioned similar tests centuries prior. That the Council's peace had been built on sacrificial wars, on ritual bloodshed offered from weaker civilizations to strengthen the illusion of harmony. Veilgrim watched it all unfold from orbit. "They won't survive this," Threx said. "They're not meant to," he replied. "We're not here to win battles. We're here to end patterns." Back in the Council chamber, chaos reigned. Factions splintered. Races accused one another of betrayal. The Thalaxi demanded a vote of dissolution. The Kirill threatened orbital strikes. The Earth threatened to leave entirely. Then came the final blow. The cube Veilgrim left behind activated on its own. It projected the Black Rid archive, footage taken from Revenant helmet cams. Not the blood. Not the battle. The preparation. The volunteers. Men, women, and children standing in cryosuits, saluting, nodding, whispering farewells to loved ones. One little girl, no older than 6, looked straight into the camera and said, "I want to scare them so they never do this to another kid." The chamber went still. This wasn't vengeance. This was design. Deliberate. Calculated. Human. The AI speaker reactivated, its voice shaken. "This footage confirms voluntary martyrdom. Civilian consented loss of life. In exchange for strategic gain. That's not war," whispered the ambassador from the Sonari Triad. "No," the Thalaxi leader muttered. "That's doctrine." Veilgrim's final message played next. His face calm. Behind him, stars. Burning. "You asked us to show our temperament. This is it. We don't lash out. We don't weep. We assess. We prepare. And when the time is right, we do what must be done. Without hesitation. Without regret. Without asking permission. We sent our children knowing they would die. And they died knowing they would change everything. Now it's your turn to decide. Fix your council. Purge your syndicates. Or wait for us. Because if there's one thing you've all forgotten, it's this. Earth doesn't need your peace. We brought our own." The message ended. 32 member species exited the Council that day. 12 declared immediate independence. Riots ignited across 2 core sectors. The Kirill attempted a fleet rally. Their staging moon collapsed mid-deployment. No weapons detected. No survivors. Just static. And a single repeating message broadcast in Old Earth Morse. "Never again." Back aboard Ash-Eater, Veilgrim stood over the war map again. Another star blinked red. "Permission to fire?" Threx asked. "No," Veilgrim said. "Let them speak first." He turned to the viewport, watching as fragments of the old order drifted quietly into the void. The Council reconvened in the emergency bunker beneath Virellum Prime, its upper chambers still smoldering from the riots triggered by Veilgrim's broadcast. Delegates arrived without their ceremonial robes, stripped of decorum, of protocol, of the illusion that order still reigned. Security was doubled. Weapons were drawn. Trust had evaporated. No one spoke of retaliation anymore. They spoke of containment, of survival, of reputation salvage. Humanity had hijacked the galaxy's moral center in under 3 days, not with bombs, but with truth too sharp to ignore. The severed veil's existence, long rumored and always denied, now burned across every neuroband like an open wound. Inside the chamber, the debate turned to Earth's expulsion. Official exile. Cut their gates. Collapse their trade. Label them a rogue species. It was the only action that would look strong, decisive. The Kirill pushed hardest, demanding unity through punishment. They didn't notice the shadows along the walls deepening until it was too late. The lights dimmed. Then died. And in that unnatural darkness he appeared. No ship had landed. No diplomatic path opened. No announcement. But Magnus Veilgrim stood at the center of the floor, his coat stained in dried plasma, a gleam of something ancient and cruel in his eyes. Around him, 12 Terran operatives emerged from cloaking fields, each carrying relic blades forged not for aesthetics, but reminders. The chamber drew weapons. Veilgrim raised a hand, not in surrender but warning. "If you shoot," he said, "you'll start something that won't end at this table." The speaker AI flickered into function, its tone uneasy. "You were not granted access. This is sovereign territory. How did you?" Veilgrim tilted his head slightly. "You keep asking how. Ask why." "I believe we know," growled the Senari minister. "You seek revenge. That's why you're here." "No," Veilgrim said, stepping forward. "I'm here because you still think this is about revenge. You still think we came to destroy something. But we didn't. We came to rebuild what you corrupted. And to do that, we had to burn away the rot." He gestured toward the chamber ceiling, where thousands of civilian feeds blinked in. "They're watching," he said. "Every species. Every worker. Every slave in your systems. Every child you brainwashed into thinking the Council kept peace. They know now that your peace was kept by bloodshed, sacrifice, temperament trials." He let the silence stretch. "You called it a test. We called it a funeral. And now you're out of excuses." The Kirill delegate, desperate, stood. "You think exposing us gives you power? You think playing the martyr makes you immune? Earth has no allies. Earth has no seat. Earth has nothing but violence." Veilgrim turned toward him, eyes narrow. "Earth has memory. Earth has teeth. And Earth just buried a galaxy's worth of denial under 3 suns' worth of ash. That's what we have." He reached into his coat and pulled out a crystalline sphere. It shimmered with data, static, yet pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is a list of every known operative of the Severed Veil still embedded within Council Alliance systems. Coordinators. Funders. Scientists. Merchants of pain." He held it out. "And this is your one chance to do something about it yourselves. Publicly. Cleanly. Or the next time I stand in this room, I won't be talking." The Thalaxi rose slowly. "What happens if we cooperate?" Veilgrim glanced at him. "Then maybe your systems won't burn." "And if we refuse?" asked the Kirill. He stepped closer, voice now low, steady. "Then we move to Phase Delta. And let me be clear, Phase Delta doesn't involve fleets. It doesn't involve weapons. It involves ideas. We'll dismantle your empires without ever firing a shot. We'll seed your slaves with hope, your merchants with guilt, your soldiers with questions." He took a breath, eyes locked with the Kirill's. "And you know what happens when people ask questions? They stop following orders." The AI speaker tried to mediate. "This is highly irregular. You are threatening open insurrection." "I'm offering salvation," Veilgrim snapped. "From yourselves." He dropped the sphere. It hovered midair, then split, projecting the names in every known language. Real names. Genetic markers. Accounts. No more shadows. The chamber fell quiet. Each delegate scanned it. Some paled. Others wept. "You made a game of peace," he said. "We turned it into a reckoning." Then a sound pierced the chamber. Applause. Slow. Metallic. From behind the Kirill delegate, a figure rose. Robed in chrome thread. Old. Gaunt. One of the oldest voices in the council, Erlen Zeth, founder of the Arbitration Charter, thought to be in stasis. Well played, Zeth rasped. You turned pain into currency. Weaponized grief into revolution. Veilgrim didn't blink. Pain is the most honest currency we have left. Zeth smiled. You've made your point. But what if we refuse your demands anyway? What if we vote you out, close the gates, erase the feeds, and start over? Veilgrim took one step forward. Just one. Then I will come back alone. Without a fleet. Without permission. Without announcement. And I will walk into your sanctuaries. Your strongholds. Your sanctums. I will find every architect of this lie and drag them into the light. And when I'm done, you won't remember the word council. You'll only remember me. He turned. The lights came back. The sphere dissolved. And every system across the galaxy suddenly received an open signal. No encryption. No password. Just truth. And behind that truth, the weight of a voice no longer requesting cooperation, but offering one final chance before the reckoning consumed everything. Veilgrim didn't look back. He didn't need to. The fire was already lit. The vote failed. Even with the Kirill's demands, even under pressure, even with half the council trembling behind sealed seats, the numbers weren't enough. Too many factions had seen the list, seen their own species named among the betrayed, the used, the culled. Some recognized faces. Some found their own ancestors buried in trial records they never knew existed. The myth of benevolence cracked, then shattered. A message was sent to Earth's old contact channel on Mars Relay, one long dormant since the Outer Accord collapse. It simply read, "We're listening." Magnus Veilgrim read the message in silence from the bridge of the Ash Eater. Behind him, screens lit up with planetary broadcasts, revolts in the Urkor systems, Kirill colonies refusing to pay tribute, lesser races chanting words once meant to mock. Human mercy. He didn't smile. This wasn't victory. It was only validation. Admiral Threx approached. Half the council is collapsing. The Kirill are preparing retaliatory strikes in Sector 9. They've hired privateers. Let them, he said. They're targeting refugee arcs. Not military assets. Then send the footage, Veilgrim replied. Within minutes, every system received raw visual feeds. Kirill warships opening fire on unarmed evac ships. Children screaming. Fires. Council markings clearly visible. Hours later, 6 Council-aligned merchant fleets switched allegiance to Earth. Not out of loyalty. Out of fear. Fear that truth traveled faster than any ship, and that now, humanity controlled it. Veilgrim entered the sealed ops chamber, facing a screen of holographic feeds. 12 encrypted lines. One from each of the former Sovereign Rebellion leaders, species who once fought the Council, failed, and vanished. Now they were watching again. He spoke. Your ancestors bled trying to change this system. They died thinking no one would finish what they started. But you were wrong. We were always listening. We waited. We watched. And now we're moving. One of the voices crackled through. You want us to ally with humans? I want you to see the opening we carved, Veilgrim said. You don't have to kneel. You just have to act. While the Council bleeds. Another voice. And when the Council falls, what replaces it? Veilgrim didn't hesitate. Nothing. No centralized power? Nothing, he repeated. No throne. No lords. Just memory. The kind that keeps tyrants up at night. The channel went silent. Then, one by one, the feeds cut. Not a rejection. Not acceptance. But activation. Threx exhaled behind him. They'll move. They already are. The Ash Eater powered down its weapons. No orders to fire. No targets assigned. Instead, its comms opened to every known race. An unbroken message in 100 tongues. You were told humans were dangerous. That we were wild. That we needed watching. They were right. But they never asked why. We are not dangerous because we want power. We are dangerous because we remember what it's like to be hunted. And we vowed never to forget. We are not your rulers. We are your reckoning. The Council's attempt at martial response failed in a single broadcast cycle. The severed Veil's own archives, unlocked through capture nodes, now poured into galactic networks. Every false war. Every manufactured famine. Every staged rebellion crushed to stabilize stock markets and favor trade agreements. Some of the tapes were old, centuries, but they carried the same voice. A voice that always said, "For the good of the peace." Now that voice was poison. On Virellum Prime, riots turned to purges. Delegates were dragged into the streets by their own guards. The Kyril attempted to seal their sector gates but found their AI override codes had been changed. Earth had never hacked them. It didn't have to. The engineers who did it were Kyril-born, raised under human education after seeking asylum 2 decades earlier. They built the Council's systems and buried the backdoors. Veilgrim addressed them directly via encrypted link. "You've done your part. Get out before the storm hits." One engineer responded, voice trembling. "I thought we were building something lasting." "You did," he said. "It just wasn't what they wanted." The final blow came not from a missile or fleet, but a vote, held not in the Council, but across a dozen liberated systems. Open referendums. Transparent results. The question was simple. Should the Galactic Council continue to exist? 90% voted no. Within 72 hours, 4 core systems withdrew military assets. 7 colonies declared independent governance. 2 protectorates appointed Terran human advisors voluntarily. On the Ash Eater, Threx watched the data flood in. "It's done," she said. "No," Veilgrim replied. "Now we see what they build without someone pulling the strings." He stepped back, watching as the last remnants of the old world flickered across star charts. The Council still existed, on paper. In reality, it was nothing more than a fractured voice trying to command silence in a room that had already started shouting. Threx hesitated. "You're not staying to oversee the rebuild?" Veilgrim shook his head. "That's not our role." "Then what is?" He looked her in the eye, unflinching. "To remind them." With that, the Ash Eater turned. Its engines didn't roar. They whispered. Its presence no longer needed. Its message delivered. Earth didn't rise to rule. It rose to warn. And the stars would never forget again. The message from the Ash Eater spread farther than expected. Farther than intended. What began as a fire among the stars became something else, a signal that could not be buried. Planet after planet transmitted their own echoes. Translations of Valagrim's words were graffitied onto prison walls, embassy floors, and council statues before they were pulled down and melted into nothing. Veilgrim watched it all from the old forward observation deck, the place where the Oria's 9 campaign began, years ago. Not a single scar from that battle remained on the hull. It had been rebuilt, but the memory stayed. Admiral Threx entered, a data slate in hand, her expression unreadable. "They're calling it the Human Reckoning," she said. "Unoriginal, but it's everywhere." He didn't look away from the viewport. "What else would they call it? Some want to build a new council. Some want to create independent spheres. Others are asking Earth to lead." "No," he said immediately. "That's not the play." Threx nodded. "I figured you'd say that. There's a reason we fought this war the way we did. Not to replace tyrants. To erase the throne." She held the data slate out. "There's something else." He scanned it. Names, locations, coded tags. The last survivors of the severed veil, hidden deep in neutral space. Not many. Maybe 17. But 17 was too many. Each one could build another system of obedience, another architecture of lies. This war had scorched the galaxy, but Veilgrim understood what fire often missed. "The roots are always buried deepest," he said. Threx waited. She didn't press him. They all knew what had to happen. "Ready Project Saltline," he ordered. Her tone sharpened. You're sure? I'm tired of pruning weeds, he said. We need to burn the soil. Project Saltline was never meant to be deployed. It was a last measure, a precision extinction tool. Not a bomb. Not a virus. A collapse sequence, cutting communication, logistics, travel, food, water, currency, AI synchronization. A total reset of any planetary system it touched. And it worked silently. The target wouldn't know they'd lost until they were already kneeling. He activated the neural transmitter and spoke into the grid. To the remaining architects hiding behind treaties, behind species you've manipulated, behind false cries of civility, we are coming for you. Not with fleets. Not with fanfare. You will disappear from history, not as villains, but as errors corrected mid-sentence. You taught the galaxy to trade life for obedience. We're deleting the market. His eyes didn't waver. There will be no monuments. Only silence. Then he turned it off. Reports came back within hours. 7 systems experienced total logistical freeze. Veil agents tried to escape. Most didn't make it past planetary orbit. Those who did found their ships unsynchronized, blind, cut off. They vanished in deep space, unmarked and unremembered. Back on Earth, the Terran Senate, largely ceremonial now, voted unanimously to decline leadership of any new galactic body. Their statement was short. We did not fight to rule. We fought to be left alone. Let memory rule now. In the following weeks, dozens of fractured powers held assemblies. Not one dared reinstate a system of central control. Independent sectors formed their own alliances, their own pacts, and in their charters was a clause written in hundreds of languages. No species may test another's worth in blood. It became known as the Veil-Grimm Accord. He refused to sign it. When asked, he said, I didn't write it. I enforced it. He returned to Earth in a transport shuttle with no name and no ceremony. No welcoming committee. No medals. Just the silence of wind across blackened memorial stones and a garden that never quite grew right after the siege. He stood there a long time. The last operative from the Revenant fleet met him at the gate. What now? She asked. Now we disappear. You think they'll remember? I hope they forget. Why? He looked up at the stars, at the quiet world that had once screamed and bled and stood alone. Because peace only lasts when no one fears it ending. The Revenant fleet disbanded within a month. Its ships scattered to the outer systems, hidden, deactivated, buried under moons, dropped into suns. No databases were kept. No official records. Only whispers, told in hushed awe or exaggerated dread depending on who remembered. Earth withdrew from all diplomatic networks, maintained only emergency trade corridors, and erected one final orbital satellite, transmitting a single rotating code. Do not come with war. On the worlds once ruled by the Council, things changed slowly. Some power structures returned. Greed didn't vanish. But something else endured, consequence. A sense that eyes could still be watching. That another ash-eater might rise from silence. That maybe, just maybe, someone still remembered what Earth did when pushed past its limit. Years later, a child born on a fringe mining planet would ask their mother why the stars had names that sounded like screams and hymns. The mother smiled and told a story. Not a long one. Just the kind that leaves a mark. About a man who walked into a hall of rulers alone. About ships that bled. About silence that burned louder than war. About the day humanity came not to join the galaxy, but to change it forever. And the stars, though colder now, still listened.